Hello everyone, welcome to my first video, and today we're just going to be discussing Arduino and kind of like an introductory start to Arduino. And so we're going to start off with the most basic project with LEDs. You can see here, it's a blue LED light, and we're going to learn how to light them first, create a program, do all that jazz, and then we're going to finally get into more complex projects. And so just for the start, or just lighting the LED, we're going to start off with these materials in order to get the project rolling. Alright, so let's get started with our first project with these two LED lights. And the first thing I want you to notice is that on the Arduino board, there is letters and numbers on the side. You can see that mine is on already because of the flashing lights. And there's G and D. And so what I want you to focus on is G and D, and that is the ground pin. And so you want to take your first wire and attach it to G and D, or the ground. And this will essentially allow the wires, the resistors, and the LEDs to kind of access the ground pin through the breadboard. And notice how I'm attaching this wire to the negative railing of the breadboard. The next thing we're going to do is take our resistor and also attach it along the negative railing of the breadboard. So now let me zoom in for you as we work on this. Okay. So now I want you to notice something about this LED. Let's focus. So you notice how there's a long side and a shorter side? Well, the longer side is the positive side and the shorter side is the negative side. So what I want you to do, let's focus. I want you to take the negative side, right here, the negative side, and attach it in alignment with the resistor. The longer side, or the positive side, is going to be in alignment with the second wire. Take one good look. And so what we're going to do, we have the second wire. Get your Arduino, and you see all those numbers. Let's just attach it to 13. Attach it to 13. So now, I urge you to try it with your second LED light, and then we can come back together and focus on a more complex project. Okay, so now we're back. I attached the second LED light, and just a quick notice, these are my connections to the ground. Notice pin 13 and pin 10. That's going to be very important when we start looking into the code and programming it. So now let's go on to the actual Arduino application and let's light these LEDs up. Alright, so let's get into the actual code and how the actual Arduino processes this information and allows the LED to light up. So the application I'm using is Arduino 1.8.19. I'll link the download in the description so you can download it for yourself, as well as this code so you can just put it into your compiler and try this out for yourself. But for now, I'm just going to do a quick walkthrough through this code. So if you look at this, LED1 and LED2, and these are called initialization statements. And what it does is it creates a memory location that we're going to call LED1. And the next one also creates a memory location called LED2. And these will only hold values of type integer. So it only holds integers. So if you try to enter a string or a decimal, it won't accept it. It only wants numbers that are whole, like 1, 2, or in this case, 13 and 10. And do you realize any significance of 13 and 10? Can you change those values? Well, if you look at the beginning of the video, you can see that I attached my wires connecting to the LEDs to pin 13 and to pin 10. This means, this is very important because if you go here, pin mode LED1 output, 13, or LED1, is the pin that's receiving this output, and the same goes for LED2. So basically, 13 and 10, the pins 13 and 10 on the Arduino will receive an output from going from the ground all to the LED through the resistors and everything back to pin 13 and to pin 10. And essentially what this loop does is it says LED 1, which is the pin 13 that's receiving the current. We just want to make the LED light up or high. And the same thing for LED 2. We want to make the LED light up. So essentially what it's doing is it's receiving a current to 13 and 10. And when it does, it wants the LEDs to light up. And so when we click upload, your LEDs should light up no problem. So if you notice something high, the opposite would be low. So that would mean to turn it off. And this is going to be very important when we want to do flashing lights. All right, so I want to introduce you to a project that's a little bit more complex, but still relatively similar to just the shining LED lights. So we see the same code, int LED 1, 13. So just connect it to pin 13 and pin 10 on the Arduino. These are the outputs. But here, let's look at this. Delay 1000. So delay is essentially allowing the program kind of like to pause. So it records in terms of milliseconds. So 1000, this is 1000 milliseconds, and that's equal to 1 second. So it's essentially telling the compiler or the Arduino to wait 1 second before we continue with the code. And so with this, the blue LED light is going to flash, delay, so wait 1 second. Then the next LED is going to flash, wait 1 second. Then the LED 1 or the blue LED will stop flashing, so it will not flash. And then the next LED will not flash. So it's going to go in that, it's going to represent blinking. And you're going to see my example on screen now. And so you can always change the delay value. If you don't want it to wait 1000 milliseconds or 1 second, you can always make it faster to 100 milliseconds and even try doing 10 milliseconds. So always just play around with this. You can make it in a different order, like the blue light shines and then stop shining, and then the yellow light shines and then stop shining. Be as creative as you want. There's really no limits to what you can do with the Arduino, so really have fun with it and be creative. I'm going to show you one of the examples that I came up with multiple blinking lights. That's going to Alright, so this is what 4 blinking lights looks like. I urge you to try the code by yourself. You can copy this circuit structure if you want, but try programming the code and then I'll put it on screen in a few seconds. Okay, so now you can see I showed you the 4 LED lights. Now I try to be creative, do something with the blinking, and especially if you want to do something for the holidays with red and green, especially since Christmas is coming up for those of you that celebrate. So essentially what's going on is these are the 4 LED lights at pins 11, 12, 13, and 10 on the Arduino board. It's creating an output, and what it's doing is essentially what's going on is it's blinking. Each of them are individually blinking and they're creating a pattern. And so try to notice that when I display the video of these blinking patterns on my screen. And so I really hope you enjoyed this video and learned something new about LEDs and Arduinos. Stay tuned for upcoming projects because we're going to use different gadgets like the remote, joystick, motion sensors, and the servo motor, and we're going to implement them using LED lights and some cool new projects. So stay tuned.